002. You can also write to Now Playing at P.O. Box 420-933, Palm Coast, Florida, 32142, 0933.
We talk about the code, quote unquote, and films being pre-code. Of course, we're talking about the
Hollywood Production Code.
The Hays Code.
Yes, indeed.
Authored in 1930 by William
Well, it was kind of
Hays.
put together in 1930 to have rules by which Hollywood producers had to follow. What you could and couldn't say in a movie. It was time for some kind of governing, and they were afraid the government was going to come in and do that. So to try to counterbalance that, they had this production code put together.
Right. The Hays Code talked about infidelity, it talked about sexuality, it talked about nudity, but the thing where the authority of the Hays Code kind of makes sense was when it had to do with crime and with criminals.
Problem was, nobody followed it for a long time. It had no teeth to it, and nobody was there strong enough.
Until when?
1934. But what we're concentrating on, of course, are those movies that were made before they put the teeth in the code. Scarface, 1932, quite a movie.
Well, I think in that way that you and I have talked about previously, where sound brought the psychological element to films that had not existed there before, or not to that level. This is a genre of film. This is the type of film. And Scarface with Paul Muni, the original Scarface, if you will, is ultimate examples of what that can create in the gangster genre. There is a tone and there is a tableau of utter violence and sheer amorality and just depravity throughout the film. And one of the things I think that's the signature here for Muni, and Cagney did this as well in White Heat and so forth, is the sociopath. I mean, the mentally ill criminal. The guy's not just a bad guy; he's mentally ill and a bad guy. He's nuts. He's nuts, and he's got a gun in his hand, and he's got a you know, he's got a lot of plans. And Muni, who was a wonderful actor.
Wonderful.
A very, and again, a guy who could go from here to there. You know, the life of Emile Zola. I mean, he's such a beautiful leading man and a detailed, nuanced actor. And in this, he's just your nightmare. He's your worst nightmare.
Right. One thing we have to keep in mind that we haven't pointed out before is that even though these were pre-code films, the code wasn't in, you know, in session at that point with teeth in it, they were still being censored at various times by various groups around the country. I mean, the fact that there was nobody in the industry or in the government actually going out and censoring these films or telling them what they couldn't put in a movie. There were various groups in various cities that had censor boards that would stop a movie from being shown and would maybe hold up a Scarface or, you know, Red Dust or some of these other films. So we have to point that out. They were being censored by some other groups. We were just basically talking about the motion picture code, not censoring them.
Talk about, if you will, where this film fits into Hawke's filmography, because if I'm not mistaken, he never made a movie like this again, did he?
Not of this type at all. And he made everything else. He made comedies like Ball of Fire. He made musicals like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, westerns like Red River. You know, he's had such a versatile filmography, but he never did anything like this before. But this was early Hawks. And you know, it did get a lot of unfavorable press when it came out. People weren't used to seeing a film like this in theaters. This was early days of sound. It was a shocking film. We were not as immune to violence as we are now when we see something in a film. So it really made a lot of waves. And I don't know if he stayed away from that on purpose or if that was, he felt he said everything he wanted to say about gangsters and everything in this film.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, let's see the film. Here it is from United Artists in 1932, directed by Howard Hawks. Here's Scarface.